Thank you for joining us on this International Labor Day edition of Issues at Hand here on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Tumuheri Bruno Edgar, and we hope that you're all enjoying your Labor Day rest plus celebrations. Now, we are commemorating Labor Day with a very interesting talk here, of course, on Issues at Hand, discussing a range of issues as pertains to the labor workforce here in Uganda. But of course, we have to start with the fact that Issues at Hand is proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel in Tebe. And as you are waiting for the rain to disperse, for those of you who are in areas where it's still raining, after that you can go and check out Protea Hotel in Tebe as you enjoy the rest of your Labor Day today. But you can as well make a reservation and booking by calling the numbers that will be on your screen later on. But thank you for joining us this morning, and of course, since it's Labor Day, we are talking about labor issues, and joining me to talk about labor issues with a triumphant return is Miss Bwiite Lydia, who is the Director of Programs from an organization called Platform for Labor Action. Thank you for returning to Issues at Hand.
Thank you so much for inviting us back, Family TV, and I want to congratulate the workers out there for once again, being alive and witnessing another commemoration of their work, of their achievements, because whatever workers do, in whatever section you are, at whatever level you are, you actually contribute to the economic development of the country. So I want to congratulate and wish all workers in this country a good Labor Day celebration, but also I want to not forgetting our employers that we work for and we work with, because the working relationship is between two people. You can only work if there is someone you work, or you work for your own. So for the employers, those who are in employment, we also celebrate you for accommodating us, the workers, and thank you. Yes.
Indeed. Now, for those who might not know, what exactly does the Platform for Labor Action do?
Yes. Our dear viewers, thank you so much. Our dear viewers, Platform for Labor Action is a non-government organization that was founded in the year 2000 with the sole aim of promoting and protecting the rights of vulnerable and marginalized workers in Uganda. And as an organization, over time we have grown. We are now, we have physical presence, or what we call office presence, in 3 regions of Uganda. That is Central, in Kampala, and we are found on plot 14 Matters Lane in Ntinda, in Eastern region, in Iganga, which serves Iganga, Jinja, Kaliro, Bujiri, Busia, Tororo, Namayingo, and all those other districts surrounding. And then we have in the northern region, where we also are located in Lira City and serving Lango sub-region. So we are happy to be here, but the national office actually has a national focus, and it serves even workers that are coming from different regions, which are not necessarily from those other regions. So we provide legal aid services, we do awareness raising for workers with employers, we partner with the labor offices to undertake workplace inspections, and this is aimed at improving compliance with the labor and employment laws and policies within the country. So basically, we also do advocacy on different issues affecting the workers that we represent, and we also inform legal and policy reforms within the labor and employment sector of Uganda. In brief, that is Platform for Labor Action, but we do a lot of work, even in social protection, research, and the like. Yes. So that is who we are.
Indeed. Thank you for taking us through that, and we are going to discover how exactly, later on, we're going to discover how exactly the organization does this. Now, talking about International Labor Day, the theme here in Uganda when it comes to commemorating this special day is promoting positive work, culture and ethics, a perspective for increased investment, employment opportunities and household incomes. What does this mean as we celebrate this day today? Number one. But secondly, what is the importance of this day? What does it actually mean to us as Ugandans, especially as a labor workforce?
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, in terms of what does that day mean to us as Ugandans, to any worker who is out there, by the way, to our dear viewers, this day is not for those who are employed, employed by someone only. No, it's for all workers. It's a labor day. Whether you work in the market, whether you push that bicycle, whatever that you do that is labor, so you are celebrated. Some people have a notion, sometimes a perception that this day is only for those that white collar jobs, but no, for all kinds of workers, all workers. It does not mean whether I mean me who works in an office or that one who works on the street. All workers are combined on this day. So this day is about celebrating, taking strides or stock of the achievements that the workers in that in that country and all over the world, by this day celebrated. So in that country or in the whole world, what have been their contribution? What is their shared contribution? Why should they even reflect? Because it is only when you take off time to reflect what you have done. Every year we sit and make resolutions and say, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this, I want to achieve this. Now for the workers, we have different resolutions. We have at individual level, but we also have national resolutions around the workforce, ideally. For example, when you look into the National Development Plan 3, what is the resolution around the workforce of the country? It is to create employment, is to ensure to increase productivity and competitiveness within the region and across the globe. So those are like a resolution. So on this day, we take stock of what have we so far achieved on those resolutions around the workforce. What have we achieved as a workforce? In terms of economic development of the country, in terms of individual development, in terms of the household. That's why you're looking at the theme, having the household aspect, because a worker, you come from a household before you go into a community and before you go to the nation. So you come from the household. So we need to be able to understand what is it. So we take this day to underscore what have we done. But also we use this day to reflect. Why have we failed to achieve resolution A and B and C at an individual level as a worker, but also at the national level? Like I said, at the national level, workers' resolutions are in the National Development Plan. So we ask ourselves, okay, this is what we set out to do. Or if it was 5 years, for example, how far have we gone, or what is remaining? Or when we look at so far the 5 years, or maybe the 3 years that we have moved, are we yet there? So we reflect, we take a stock, we sip on that tea, water, and say, what have we done? And I encourage every worker out there to take a stock and say, at my individual level, as I commemorate this day, what have I achieved from my labor? What was my resolution? But also at the national level, how is the government planning for me? What had it planned for me, and where am I going? Yes, so that's why it's very important. Now, when we look at this year's theme, promoting a positive work culture and ethics, a prerequisite for increased investment, employment opportunities, and household income. So we have 3 levels of where we are going to measure that this particular theme. It is at increased investment, increased employment opportunities, and increased household income. When you look at our National Development Plan 3, ideally, that is a theme, okay, for the National Development Plan. So it's sort of like it was brought here. But today, I want us to reflect as well. What is it that is within the current labor force as we stand today? The report that was released by UBOS, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, because that is the national agency, government agency that undertakes research, national research. It shows us that currently we have about 20 million, 20 million people within the working age. Sort of like that is like the workforce. And of that we have we have 49% are in paid employment, and 51% are in their own bosses, not as self-employed. So they are self-employed. But combined, we look at them as the workforce that we have. Those are people who are, in the ages of employment. Now, when you dig further, when it's showing you that they're self-employed, majority, in other words. But even those in employment, the 49%, the current labor force, we know that still majority of them you find them in the informal sector. So the challenge that we are having as workers as we commemorate is that we are finding most of our livelihood in the informal sector. We have a very large informal sector that takes up 88% of the labor force. Now, when you have a very large informal sector, we all know what the informal sector is characterized with. One, it is characterized by limited or non-regulation of the sector. It is characterized by non-compliance with the human rights standards. It is characterized by low productivity, of within there, and there are reasons why all those characters are surrounding this particular informal sector. It is also characterized by casualization, and this casualization is not only for the unskilled or semi-skilled, even for the skilled labor. So you find that people are in this sector, they are skilled labor, but they are casualized. So that is what, as we commemorate this day, we need to be able to reflect as a country and say, when you're talking about promoting a positive work culture and ethics, when you have a very large informal sector taking up 88% of your workforce, how then do you plan to cultivate this positive work culture and ethics? Because already there is informality, they're not registered in most cases. Most of those enterprises, they're not registered, and yet they employ the majority of this working population which I talked about. They are employed in this sector. So I think it has to be a deliberate effort for the government to ensure that, one, we support these dual carriers to be able, and it has to be a deliberate effort. One, it has to, in this effort or plan or program, it has to be just to ensure that there is a deliberate national awareness why these enterprises, however small they are, they should be able to register. There should also be a deliberate national plan in terms of subsidizing the requirements for registration for these people, so that then you're able to bring them into play. Because you cannot set standards in informalities. That is a given. If we want to set a work culture, a national work culture for us that is productive, that is about setting the mindset change of the workers, so they don't steal the time, they don't steal the material. Let's say when I was here, I think we're talking about, sometimes your workers can actually steal your time and also steal your materials without you knowing. Especially when you cheat them, they steal your time, they steal your materials, and that's why you find that some employers complain, and we've seen workers being prosecuted, for stealing, for all those things. All others being terminated for taking work time for granted. So if we want to instill such a culture, as a country, we have to start from the basics of, look, you can't set standard in an informality.
But the question there is there hope for the informal sector, especially if you look at what's happening in some areas of the formal sector? Things are complicated as well. When we talk about the livelihoods of the workforce here in Uganda,
yes,
we are seeing a lot of challenges coming on that end when it comes to labor here in Uganda. For instance, we see there are a lot of industrial actions when it comes to those who are in the public service. We are talking about medical interns, we're talking about doctors, nurses, teachers, local government workers, all coming out to say there are poor working conditions, there is a lack of deployment, there are unpaid salaries, or there's poor pay, and there are poor or hazardous working conditions. So these are the challenges we have in the formal sector. So you can imagine now if there's any prioritization for the informal sector as well. So in light of all these challenges, one, why do these challenges continue to persist, especially when it comes to the public sector, and what can we do about it? Isn't there going to, don't we need now a multilateral view when it comes to the entire environment of the workforce, both informal and formal, so that we can get things in order, so that we have a workforce that are appreciated and that are working to the best of their capacities? I
totally agree with you. We definitely need, it's a multilateral, program at that level. When we talk about, and the person actually that came up with this a theme. This is a very big theme, by the way. If we are talking about, like you said, even in the formal sector that we are talking about, same issues of workers' rights not being, respected, what is it that we can do? We have a challenge as a country. As we're talking about promoting, a positive culture and work ethics, we are slapped by the high levels of unemployment. And because of those high levels of unemployment, there is, in my position, there are 100 people who are just waiting to apply for the same position. You see when you advertise the response that comes with it. And because of that, the employers, knowing that we are very, very replaceable as workers, anytime there are people just waiting at the door, they have built around themselves impunity. But also this impunity has been built in a way that the labor administration structures are not well functioning. Let me give you an example.
Do you mean from Ministry of Labor?
Yes. Generally, like the labor administration structures are not functional properly. They are not functional and they are not well resourced. So let me give you a quick example. So we have labor officers. The labor officers, every district is supposed to have a district labor officer. So it says that every district service commission shall appoint a district labor officer. But we have currently 146 districts in this country. But I can tell you, currently as we speak, we have about 77 substantially appointed labor officers. The question then remains that, so who is manning the other districts in terms of labor? Because we know that every district has workers, definitely, and therefore has workers and employers. So there has to be someone to man that relationship if we are going to talk about a positive culture and work ethics.
Especially when it comes to government's role of, like you said, ensuring that there's compliance.
Yes, there's compliance.
Yes, there might be a problem with unemployment, and there are employers who may look to take advantage of that.
Yes.
But there should be someone on the other end saying, no, you must still comply.
Yeah, that those that are now in employment, they are protected, they are what and everything.
Yes.
So if you see it like that, even those that are appointed, they are not resourced. The labor sector is the least funded sector of all sectors. At the district level, because we have what we call conditioned grant and unconditioned grant, which conditioned grant comes from the center and it goes to the district level. Now, when the conditioned grant goes, the labor department, the labor sector is under the community development department in every district. So in that department, they will get 5% of that department's budget, 5%. So let's say in a financial year. So let's imagine a department has been given 50 million shillings. So they will get how much money? 5 million in the entire 12 months. But when you look at the mandate of the labor office, it is a very vast mandate. They have to undertake workplace inspection. They have to investigate labor disputes. They have to mediate, conciliate. They have to do so much that they're supposed to do. To do awareness raising. But they cannot do that with the 5 million if you look at it critically. Because you will find that maybe it will only go for workplace inspection. Maybe someone will do like maybe 5 or 6. And sometimes, if even the 5%, we will have it that it is 5% of the district's, that department's budget. But the release will may not even reach 5%. The plan is that 5% should go to this office or sector, but the release sometimes it's not 5%. It could even be 2% or 1%. So you have labor structures that are not functional. They are not resourced. Others are not there. They are not resourced. So if for us to promote a positive work culture, there has to be someone to oversee that. And if that person is not resourced, so you have a recurrent expense of wages vis-a-vis person who is not working. So I'm employed as a labor officer, district labor officer, but all I do is to come to office and sit, and that's why you find that most of the labor officers, especially the upcountry ones, they find themselves being assigned roles into PDN programs, roles into youth livelihood programs when they used to be there, roles into UWEP. Why? Because those are the only active programs within the community development program that this person can be fit into. And therefore, this the vision or the aspiration of promoting a positive work and culture and ethics, it has to be nurtured. There should be institutions to nurture it. But if those institutions are not there, let me first also give another example. We have labor inspectors who are different from labor officers, and these are OSH labor inspectors. By design of the department, they're supposed to be 43 in number. Currently, as I speak, they are only 22 in number. But these man the entire country. They're supposed to ensure that every workplace is fit for a person to work in that workplace. But they man the entire country. The reports that we have, they show us that we have over 1 million workplaces, okay, in the country. But the department has only, and this is over time, has only been able to undertake 3,000, proper workplace inspection, and so meaning only 3,000 workplaces are certified as safe, fit for work for any person to work in. So it means here in Uganda. So it means that even the structures that are supposed to work, they are not there. They're not being. Apart from that, when you look at the OSH department, or as it used to be, when it comes to funding, they are given targets and say for you to get 35 million shillings in a given quarter, you would have had to undertake maybe 10 inspections. But I am unable to do that if the money does not come fast. But then they are given targets, and those targets are not actually known. Every leader just comes up, today you have these targets, today you have those targets. So we have those challenges going forward. We have challenges of the lack of certain systems not working. The Labor Advisory Board is not functional, something, and these are very key institutions that are supposed to be advising the ministry, the government, on the labor force, which direction, which training should workers now undertaking periodic surveys and all those things, but they are not functional. So we have, when I said the labor administration structures, where they are not resourced. And where in other places they are not functional, they are not being appointed. So there is the structures which are supposed to nurture this culture or ethics in the world of work, they are not there. Also, as a country,
maybe and that also points to lack of prioritization.
Yeah.
But maybe for those of us, either in government, different stakeholders, employers, employees who might be watching, why is it important for a worker to have a positive work environment and a positive a work environment that has a positive culture? Why is it important to enforce the rights of workers? Are they there to work? Isn't it their job to work? Because there are those who might be taking it for granted, but there are those who are saying, well, it's their job to work. Why should they have not come to play, they have not come to enjoy themselves, they've come to work. So let them come and work, go home and get paid.
Now, why is it important to have a positive work culture and ethics? This benefits the employer, the employee, and the nation at large. How? When you look at reports that we've been having, World Bank and other reports, they have been showing that Uganda's, the productivity for Uganda within the East African region is the lowest. It's the lowest in terms of our outputs as workers, that when I'm at the work, what do I do? And that then affects the employer. Because if you're going to have me for 8 hours, and in 8 hours I can only give you, outputs for 2 hours, okay? Because in the remaining hours I have been thinking, how do I strategize myself to earn more? How do I cheat this person? How do I benefit, going forward? Because why am I saying the other remaining hours you've been strategizing? I'm going to give an example of maybe you have a logistic officer, and that's the person whom you are employing. If there was positive work ethics, the person is protected, their rights are not violated and everything. They'll not be thinking on how this deal, how do I benefit from it? Because it takes a lot of time to start strategizing and saying, how will I benefit from this? How should this one take place? And all those things. Meanwhile, they are thinking for themselves. They're not thinking for the company. That's why we have even seen, even both in public sector, where we have seen poor procurements that are being done. Why? Because the person spent hours thinking on how do I get off something. But other workers, they'll spend hours stealing time from you and doing other things. They'll spend hours stealing materials from you and they're doing them others. So it benefits the employer, it benefits the economy, or as in terms of our productivity. And the positive work culture and ethics, it has to be nurtured from different angles, if I tell you. We've been talking about educational mismatch, okay? That's what we've been talking about. You see, our labor force, it is filled with educational mismatch. What it is being taught is not what is needed in the market. So if we are not also rethinking our, education, our skilling, our everything, it means that we shall not be able to, because can you imagine that we have people who are employed in jobs that they don't have qualifications for.
That's true.
They don't have qualifications for. Now, what kind of culture are we promoting? That I go and get my degree in mass communication or journalism, but then because someone in my position where I'm supposed to be employed, someone of education is not working there. There is that, and then the same workforce, the same workplace or employer are complaining there is low productivity, but you employed the wrong person. You employed an educationist into journalism. Why didn't you get the actual person who is skilled in this level? And it is a big percentage, by the way, because when you look at the recent report of 2022 released by UBOS, it's about 40-something that are employed. They are holding jobs that they're not skilled for. So which culture are we going to promote at that level? Are we promoting going forward? You cannot be promoting a culture where you have mismatch of skills being employed in different places, the education not speaking to each other. We can't have at a national level. So it's very important that even we look into. We also don't have national transition programs from school to work, that they are nationally governed. Maybe at that level we'll be able to match, to match properly. You are in journalism, you are an educationist, you are a social worker. We match you properly, and we see you transiting from school to the work, environment. But you know why? Because our labor information system structure is also not working. We don't have a labor information system that is working to know that, right now, as we look at how the world is moving, maybe we need more ITs. There was a time when IT course was the only thing to talk about. But was it being guided properly? Okay? Right now, we are hearing a discussion about scientists. But what has informed it? Yes, you need scientists in different sectors, but which ones are you talking about exactly? Because we don't have proper labor information system. Even cultivating this, work culture, because our work culture has to see that it speaks, like we know that when you study as this, you work as that. And because, and in this, let me give you an example. If let's say I'm an advocate, I'm a lawyer. So when I'm a lawyer, there are codes of conduct There are ethics that I'm expected of. So if you wanted a lawyer, but you brought, a journalist who has not been a class for a lawyer, and you expect that person to have a culture of lawyers, I mean, you're asking for too much from such a person, because we have mismatch, we have no information system, we are our ability as a nation to create a culture, a positive work culture and ethics, because even journalism has ethics. Me as a lawyer, I will not understand the ethics in journalism, I will not understand them, and yet they are there, okay? If you told me, you run a story about someone, I may just run it without even speaking to them. But yet, if you're a qualified person in that area, you will know that, no, you can't run a story about Lydia until at least you confirm from them.
Now, when it comes to the theme, the theme here in Uganda, when it comes to today's celebration of International Labour Day, the theme is promoting positive work culture and ethics, and it's a perspective for increased investment, employment opportunities, and household incomes. Now, something that you rightly pointed out is the fact that continuing with this theme of lack of prioritization on matters labor, you pointed out that when we talk about labor, it just doesn't mean employees, it means employers as well. But could it be that the lack of a positive work environment and a work culture is thwarted by the immense pressure that a lot of employers have, especially when it comes to making ends meet, because a lot of them are focusing on targets because of the enormous pressure and burden that comes from, let's say, for example, the taxes from government? Is it that we don't have the right environment for companies to thrive in Uganda, so it's so difficult for them that difficulty and that harshness is also passed to the employers, and that means the entire work culture is not as positive as it needs to be?
No, actually, that is not the case. Uganda has one of the best tax regimes within the East African region, for example. We have tax holidays. Do you know you can defer your losses for years and years? You're deferring them. Let me give you an example. So, you're an investor, okay? When you come and in the first year you have made losses meaning that there was no profit, that you paid salaries, everything, but there was no profit.
No returns.
No return. Maybe, in fact, you even went into losses, idea. So if I made losses of, let's say, 1 billion shilling in this financial year, the tax regime here tells you can defer it the next financial year. How? So when financial year, if the next financial year I make a profit of, let's say, 900 million, not even a billion shilling, okay? 900 million as the profit for the company. On that profit, okay, I will go and say from the previous year I made a loss of 1 billion, and therefore the 900 million is to cater for the loss that I made, and I will not even pay tax again. Moreover, I'll be having a balance to defer to another financial year. We have tax holidays in our tax regime, so much tax holidays for our investors. So we don't have, our labor laws they are very, very lenient laws going forward. So for me, if I hear that an employer is not creating a safe workplace for a safe, positive, and a good culture of working at the workplace, and they are saying that because of the demands within our legal regime, no, that is something just to talk about. But in practice, we have very good laws. We have very good tax regime. We have very good labor and employment laws that are able to support any investor to invest in Uganda. And let me tell you, even where there are very strict labor laws, for example, you will find that they are investors. I think, and this is where I've been having a discussion and saying, where we disagree for us as an institution, that when, for example, we talk about minimum wage, the economists have always told us, you know what, Uganda is not yet ready for minimum wage. Already we are struggling with unemployment, so you cannot talk about the minimum wage right now. And if you bring a minimum wage, it will scare away investors. That has been the discussion. And economists, very prominent economists of this country that the president actually relies on in terms of advice, advance such an argument. But we know very well that when you look at within the East African region, for example, Uganda, which doesn't have a minimum wage, is not leading in terms of foreign investment. Okay, we have countries where they have minimum wage and they are leading in terms of foreign investment. Investors still go and invest in them. There are investors that actually are coming from countries where paying a minimum wage is very key, and therefore they will ask, does this country have a minimum wage? Okay, and if it doesn't have, like, what is this? They will go, because they also know the impact of a country not having a minimum wage. It affects the productivity of the labor force, because labor force will always be on the move. They will always be looking where else, even if it's only 50,000. Let's say you're paying this person 200,000, and you're telling them in the same position, I'm paying 250. This person will leave this place and go down of 250. Why? Because there is an addition of 50,000. So when the workforce is not protected, it affects even its productivity. It's not protected in terms of from exploitation. So our legal regime is a very good regime in terms of allowing investment to thrive. Here in Uganda, we even give you free land. You even come to invest in Uganda and you even tell us, okay, you
but
lend
isn't that
me
for
money.
Foreign investors? Is that true for
yes.
Local investors from Uganda?
Even investors in Uganda, if you are able to follow, if you go to the private sector foundation, in Namamve, they were giving out pieces of land to Ugandan investors. If you are able to show that I have a capital base of this amount of money, they were giving that. So investment in Uganda, whether foreign or local, I think it can thrive. Yes, we have had discussions. We did a study on the cost of compliance. The cost benefit from compliance with labor and employment laws in Uganda as an institution. And truly we found that when a business does not comply, it actually spends more. It will spend more in recruitment phases. It will spend more in litigation. It will spend more in image control, because when people come out and they are rioting and what you need to control the media. What's the narrative? Who is saying what? No, it should be like this. You're investing a lot, and yet if you had used the same resources, you will also spend more in paying compensation. If, for example, workers are injured in the course of employment, you have to treat them and you have to compensate them. But if you had put protective gears or given them protective gears, perhaps you would not need to do that. So we know for sure that a business that does not comply with the standards that there is, actually in the long run, they actually spend more going forward. We have had arguments from the Small and Medium Enterprise Association and saying, first, we are small, you're telling us we should provide protective gears, we should pay NSSF the 10%, because when the employer adds on 10% and the like. But you see, that's why your productivity is still low. So I will move from this employer to another employer because I know that this person is saying, I'll even pay for you NSSF. And yet, you're going to use NSSF to pay in accordance with what I earn. You're not going to just give me money. No. If I earn 200,000, I'm meaning what is 10% of 200,000? Isn't it 20,000? And my 5% of which is 10,000. And at the end of the day, you remit 30%. But you are being a compliant person at the end of the day. So the legal regime is very, very favorable. It is only that, especially Ugandan investors, actually in terms of impunity within the labor and employment sector, the impunity is built as well by Ugandan investors, because they know, and you can sympathize with them as well. They know that in Uganda, the justice system is long. So this worker will get frustrated, even if they took me to court. They'll go to the labor office, I will not appear, they'll go to the industrial court, I'll go back, they have no transport, they will give up eventually, because they understand the weaknesses within some of our other systems. So even cultivating a positive work culture, it has to be that we have institutions that are able to hold both the employer and the worker accountable.
That's very true. Now,
yes.
We've run out of time, so very quickly, what is the way forward when it comes to the accountability? For instance, what is the platform for labor action doing to ensure that the rights of workers are enforced and implemented in Uganda vis-a-vis other stakeholders like government, especially when it comes to our discussion on prioritizing the livelihood and of workers and having a positive work environment when it comes to employees, employers, and government and every stakeholder?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think first for us as an institution, of course, we pledge to continue with the work that we've been doing in terms of creating awareness, both the worker and the employee, because both of them need to know what are my responsibilities, what are my parameters of operation. It's very, very important for the two workplace. But also even those that are not in formal employment, they are in maybe self-employed. We also create awareness to them about their responsibilities, but also the different agencies actually take control of them. Let's say you're a market person, market vendor. What does the law say? What are you supposed to do? So we will continue to do that, but also we'll continue to do to advocate for enabling legal reforms. For example, right now we have certain bills that are pending. Bills like the market bill. It's directly speaking to the worker in the market, but the president has not yet assented to them. We call upon the president to assent to some of these bills that are very key in creating positive work culture and ethics. For the market vendor, they need to be able to work in an environment where there are proper guidelines and their involvement is key in the management of that workspace going forward. So we call upon the president to prioritize some of these bills that are pending before him, for assenting. We also have bills on the floor of parliament, for example, as PLA is trying to also to add on to the voice. The Employment Amendment Bill of 2022 is pending on the floor of Parliament, and it has good provisions that actually can contribute to creating positive work culture and ethics in the world of work, that then it increases the income and the like, but also recognizing even all different categories of workers like domestic workers going forward. So it's very important that every worker really feels that recognized and valued, and then it creates, it takes away those cultural biases or stereotypes against certain occupation, which then takes away their rights in terms of to associate and the like. But also we call upon the government to finalize and expedite the national rollout of the national career counseling and guidance transition work from school to work. That program needs to kickstart. It will be able to guide and perhaps instill our culture, in us as persons when we transit into the workplace. What is expected of us? Because remember, we transit into the labor market as in two positions. We transit as workers, but also we transit as employers. Because me and you and another person can become an employer, going forward. So as we transit there, we should be able to have been prepared. Because in most cases, like last time I think I was here and I was saying that when someone sits down and they are thinking about their business, they never think about the rights, they never think about the responsibilities of the persons that they are going to employ. What they think about and plan and even ask on paper, will this business give me the profits that I need to have? Once we only look at labor as a mere input into these businesses, then we'll continue not having the necessary culture going forward. Organizations should put in place safeguards within their work environment to ensure that you're creating our work culture and ethics, a professionalism, that it is not shaken, and that people stay not because of the money that you pay them, but because of, the other things that you've set around that tells them, this is a safe and the right workplace that you should be part of, and everyone should be able to be working that area. But indeed, also we call upon government to really prioritize to increasing resource allocation. First of all, to operationalize the key labor administration structures that are not functional, but also to resource those structures so they are able to nurture this the positive culture and work ethics that we are talking about.
Indeed, and we shall see, therefore, if we follow this, we shall see increased investment, employment opportunities, and household incomes grow in Uganda. Thank you so much, Ms. Bwiite Lydia, for taking us through that wonderful discussion. It has been fruitful. Now, all of us as employees, employers, as workers, as whatever stakeholders we are, as government heads, we need to think around ensuring that this year's theme comes to pass, so that we can have a fruitful country, so that the workforce can feel comfortable in the working environment, so that we are productive. Thank you so much once again for joining us here on Issues at Hand. We shall return tomorrow. For now, enjoy the rest of your International Labour Day and enjoy the rest of the programming here on Church of Uganda Family TV.